What is going on, everybody? Today I will be responding to your guys' college football hot takes. We do this video just about every week, and it is one of my favorite videos to make because I love interacting with other college football fans. So if you guys want to be a part of this video, then just look out for my YouTube community post asking for your guys' hot takes there, because you guys can leave your hot takes there. But before we get into reading these hot takes, let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel, because we upload daily college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel, so definitely consider subscribing. And also consider joining my Discord server down in the description below. But without further ado, let's get into reading these hot takes. This first person says LSU is the most underrated team in the nation. They do lose a lot on offense, but they still have a very deep and talented unit. The receiving core should be very good, and I like Nussmeier at quarterback. I also expect the defense to get way better. Harold Perkins is a beast, and I feel like last year was a fluke. And they got a slam dunk hire in Blake Baker, who led an elite Missouri defense. They also have one of the most manageable schedules in the SEC. Alabama at home, Ole Miss at home, and Texas A&M on the road are all tough games, but they're winnable. There is not one game on the schedule that I am confident LSU will lose. It may be unlikely, but a 12-0 season is in the cards for the Tigers. And I can't really argue with this hot take because you make very valid points. LSU is a team that has potential to be a lot better on the defensive side with new hire of Blake Baker. I have no doubt that the offense will play at a high level again. Maybe not as good as it was last season, but Garrett Nussmeier could be a great quarterback going forward for LSU. LSU also has a very favorable schedule. LSU has one of the greatest home field advantages in college football, so having those games against Alabama and Ole Miss at home is huge. But I really don't expect LSU to put it all together in 2024 and go undefeated because I still think there's a lot to clean up on defense. And I've said it before, but I'll say it again, I think 2025 or 2026 could possibly be a breakout season for LSU. And I honestly would not be surprised if they were playing for a national championship by then. I just do not know if they have what it takes to put it all together in 2024. But nothing would really surprise me because LSU is always a good team, and Brian Kelly is definitely a good head coach. This next person says Jalen Milroe goes crazy with 3,500 passing yards, 30 touchdowns, and 1,000 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, maybe even a Heisman. If Jalen Milroe puts up those numbers, he probably would win the Heisman Trophy or at least be in the conversation, no doubt about it. But for this to happen, he would have to elevate his game, and Kalen DeBoer would probably be a big part of helping Milroe take that next step. Kalen DeBoer was a big part of helping Michael Penix Jr. grow his game at quarterback. And if Jalen Milroe fits the scheme and system that Kalen DeBoer has him work with, then I have no doubt that Jalen Milroe could elevate his game. Jalen Milroe is definitely talented and he's a very hard worker. He can already be dangerous with his legs, but imagine if he becomes a more consistent passer. Jalen Milroe definitely has potential to grow as a quarterback, and I'm interested to see what he will do next season with Kalen DeBoer as head coach. This next person says Carson Beck is the best player in all of college football right now. Very accurate, very confident. He did a great job with all the pressure he had after Stetson left. He is my pick for the Heisman, potentially a first-round draft pick next season. If you were to pick just a couple quarterbacks in college football, Carson Beck is probably one of the first quarterbacks that would come to mind. He's definitely one of the favorites to win the Heisman next season. And he probably is the best quarterback if we are talking pro-style offenses, and he will probably do a very good job in the NFL. He quickly became a leader for this Georgia team when Georgia needed a guy to step up, and can you imagine how good Carson Beck can be if he takes that next step up in 2024? There are a lot of good quarterbacks in college football, and any argument you make would make sense, but there is not really a big argument to be made at this hot take because Carson Beck is definitely one of the best quarterbacks in college football, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him win the Heisman Trophy. And he might just be playing for the most talented team in college football, which is the Georgia Bulldogs. And I think Carson Beck definitely has everything he needs to win the Heisman Trophy in 2024 and be a first-round draft pick. This next person says Elik Eienemer leads the country in receiving yards and leads Stanford to a bowl game. You know, maybe Elik leads the country in receiving yards, but Stanford really doesn't have anything going for them heading into 2024. I know that they return Ashton Daniels at quarterback and they return Elik Eienemer at receiver, but they will have to carry this team going forward. The defense for Stanford is horrible, and they haven't really utilized the transfer portal. I do not see Stanford making a bowl game next season, but that would be pretty awesome if Elik Eienemer led the country in receiving yards next season. He is definitely one of the top receivers in the country. He just gets overlooked because he plays for one of the worst Power 5 teams. But Elik Eienemer should definitely have 1,000 plus receiving yards again next season. This next person says if Penn State could beat Ohio State in the regular season, they will go undefeated and win the Big Ten. Also, Rutgers will have 8+ wins and go to a decent bowl game. If Penn State finds a way to beat Ohio State, I think they could very well go undefeated because every other game on their schedule they will probably be favorites in. Penn State is going to have a very good defense again, and new addition AJ Harris will be huge in the secondary for this Penn State team. This Penn State team returns a lot of production, but we will need to see more on the offensive side if they want a shot at beating Ohio State. But I think Rutgers could be a solid team again. They returned just about everybody on the team, and they were pretty solid last season. I do not know if Rutgers has enough talent to win 8 games, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised, because even though Rutgers has less talent than most of the teams in the Big Ten, they usually could beat teams that have more talent than them. But this next person says, I have 2 hot takes. Iowa will go 3-9 or 4-8 in 2024 and disappoint everybody, and that Indiana will make a bowl game. The only way I see Iowa only winning 3 or 4 games is if the defense just takes a big step down and the offense doesn't make any progress. But I just don't see that happening. Iowa returned 69% of production, which is top 30 in the country. They returned their quarterback and are getting changes in the offense and coaching staff, and I expect the defense to be very good again. I don't think the offense is going to be great or take this huge step up, and I don't think Iowa is going to compete for the Big Ten championship again, but I think the defense alone will lead them to a decent season, and if the offense does get a lot better, then this team could be a force. But regardless of what happens, it's hard to see this team only winning 3 or 4 games, and they should definitely make a bowl game at the very least. But on the topic of Indiana, I could see a world where Indiana makes a bowl game. They only went 3-9 last season, and they very well could be bad again. But they also played in 5 one-possession games last season, and they continued to improve throughout the season. Maybe they take a step up in 2024. They have done a good job in the transfer portal. They brought in like 22 transfers, I believe, and the schedule isn't too difficult. So we'll see what Indiana could do in 2024. But I do not expect Indiana to be great. The ceiling of Indiana football is probably going to be a bowl game next season because they still have a lot of work to do. And as the title of the video says, this next person says, Dylan Raiola will struggle in year 1 at Nebraska. And even if Dylan Raiola struggles next season for Nebraska, he will still most likely be better than any other quarterback that Nebraska could have starting. The quarterback situation was brutal for Nebraska last season, and it really held them back, and they basically had no quarterback who could get the job done for this team. But Nebraska will have a solid defense again, and they will have a really good rushing attack. They return a lot of talent, and all they need from Dylan Raiola is to embrace the role at quarterback and just make the right plays and don't throw unnecessary interceptions. Dylan Raiola may be a 5-star quarterback prospect, but I don't think the expectations are very high for Dylan Raiola in year 1 at Nebraska. But imagine how good this team could be if Dylan Raiola completely overexceeds expectations and Dylan Raiola is thrown for 250 plus yards every game. But even if Dylan Raiola only throws for 150 yards a game but doesn't throw interceptions, then I would not be surprised to see this team win 8 or 9 games, because I think Dylan Raiola will have the coaching staff and the team to back him up. This Nebraska team definitely has potential going forward with Dylan Raiola, and I really don't know how Dylan Raiola can disappoint people because the quarterback situation was ugly for Nebraska last season, and I don't think Nebraska will be asking a lot for him in 2024, but 2025 and 2026 is when Dylan Raiola should really start to elevate his game and people will expect a lot more from him. But next season, I don't think the expectations are very high for Dylan Raiola, but I think he could be a solid quarterback, and he could definitely get the job done for Nebraska. This next person says, my Kansas State Wildcats will be mid in the Big 12 with a 6-6 record or an 8-4 record because the Big 12 is stacked and Kansas State is still figuring things out. I actually expect Kansas State to be very good next season. I don't really think that they are still trying to figure things out. They've been consistently good for a while now, and they did just win the Big 12 championship 2 seasons ago. Next season, they return 80% of production on defense, which is actually 4th in the whole country. I know that they lose a bunch of offensive talent, but they also have a very solid quarterback in my opinion going forward with Avery Johnson. I expect Kansas State to win 8 or more games, nothing less than that, because Kansas State should definitely be one of the best teams in the Big 12 next season, and they will have a very solid defense that should keep them near the top of the Big 12. I'm going to read one more hot take, and this last person says, Colorado loses to North Dakota State week 1. And if Colorado State lost to North Dakota State, I don't think I would be very surprised. North Dakota State is a very good FCS team, but I do think Colorado is going to be better next season. They return a lot of talent, including Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. They have also done a very good job in the transfer portal, and they are building the weaknesses of the team, which is the offensive line and the defense. And they also recruited the #1 offensive tackle in the country, Jordan Seaton. I definitely think Colorado will make a bowl game or better. Maybe they lose the home opener to North Dakota State. I'm not calling my shot, but I wouldn't be surprised. And let's not forget, Colorado blew a 29-point lead against Stanford last season, so nothing will surprise me with this Colorado team. But anyways, that is going to do it for today's hot takes. I know today was kind of a shorter video, but I've had a lot of stuff going on. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And before you click off the video, let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel, because we upload daily college football content and we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing, and also consider joining my Discord server down in the description below. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.